it's honestly not even really about the pumpkins.
About me.
Doug is not yet in the book. No, but as far as what I would hope to cover, it's just another part of detailing the journey that I've been on. You know, the woman who signed me to my book deal read what I had so far, and she said it's a really interesting take on an artist's life. So some people won't get the blood and guts they're looking for, because to me it wasn't interesting then and it isn't interesting now. And there's a lot of stuff in there that people will say, why is he talking about this? Because it's interesting to me as an artist, or as a mind, or as a human being. It's a book by a celebrity that has nothing to do with celebrity. It talks about celebrity, but it has nothing to do with it. It doesn't rest on celebrity to tell a story at all.
Well, I'm looking really forward to reading.
What are we talking about?
Someday.
What was the last book you read?
I just finished a biography of Jackie Gleason that came out about 1992. Very interesting. One thing I know everybody's seen The Honeymooners, right? I mean, very interesting. The Honeymooners only shot for one season. They did 2 shows a week. So they only shot 39 episodes. Before The Honeymooners, he had a sketch comedy show like a Saturday Night Live. And they would do Honeymooners sketches. And that cast evolved until it settled on that. Then he decided to just do The Honeymooners for one season. So they did that one season that we've all seen those episodes. And the ratings actually weren't that good, and then he went back to the variety show. So there was never a second season of The Honeymooners. So that's why there's really only those 39 episodes. And it's still on fucking TV. It's unbelievable, because nobody thought it was great. There's some very few reviews from back then where people registered what he was doing, but it was so far ahead of its time that people actually didn't get it to the level that they would have needed for the show to continue. Basically, it wasn't a hit.
Kind of same thing with Future Grace.
So why did you choose the Brady to play?
I don't pick, that kind of stuff goes on between agents and promoters. It's all about, size and ticket. There's a bunch of dynamics that I can't possibly understand.
So what's the name of the new album?
I'm not telling you.
You talking about the
You
machine?
didn't pay enough for that.
Billy, I've heard you mention photography in some of your interviews before. Have you ever thought about publishing a book with any of your photos in it?
I might publish like a small. I've thought about doing photo shows of my photos. Having lived with a great photographer and having studied great photography. I know I'm not a great photographer, but I think I'm an interesting photographer. Mm-hmm. So I think I'd like that to come out in some way. But I don't think it would be something that I would hype up like I did my poetry book. I think that's more in my skill set.
Oh, wait, I got that.
What's the status on the machinery issue?
Generally speaking, in a legal situation with the old label, and I can't talk about the legality. So that's kind of where it is.
Oh, wait.
Is it true you have soundboard recordings of every live show?
No. I do have hundreds and hundreds of live recordings of the band at various stages. I probably have, of the Melancholy tour alone, I probably have 120 shows on tape or something.
Every chance for you to have
Like the ones that I was at?
The problem is it takes a lot of time to assemble that stuff, and then to even get it into modern sonic territory is a lot of effort. And most live albums, that kind of stuff, doesn't really sell. So if there was a way to let's say you had 100 concerts. Who's going to go through and listen to all those concerts, decide what are the best versions, and then mix them to where the average person is going to listen to them and say, this actually sounds good. And then what's that audience? that audience is 5,000 people and under. So that's a lot of work to, if things change, I'd be open to it, but as it stands right now, I don't think it's really that wise. I mean, you could hear some of that stuff like on, like those versions of Silverfuck, I think, that are on the Airplane Flies High. That's from those tapes. So that's kind of the general quality of what's there. I mean, you could definitely hear the band playing, but that was a lot of effort to get to sound good.
Would you release them to the public and let amateurs?
Absolutely not. No, I think. Look, it's a little bit like the reason I don't open comments on like Periscope and stuff like that. If you're asking for the honor system, you know what I mean? You're asking for the honor system. How do I know in those 100 tapes I didn't say something super inappropriate to the modern standard of what's appropriate? You know, like I use some word that's considered a slur today, and I'm not even talking about the N-word. I mean, there's 50 words now that are considered slurs that weren't considered slurs 20 years ago. And somebody takes that and they put it on a loop, and then it becomes viral, and it's like, then I have to give a press conference to say why I said this thing 19 years ago when I was high on fucking LSD. You know what I mean? That's just, it's not, you know, people I know would write me and say, I found this weird thing, what am I going to do? That's not the world we live in. That's not the world we live in. The world we live in is incentivized to find basically shit that's going to get clickbait. I don't think the Ravinia show, although it was a good show, I don't think it's up to the quality of a releasable show. I mean, there's songs there that would probably be releasable. One small thing that I can talk about as long as we're sitting here is, for whatever reason, whether it was allergens in the air or smoke, sometimes there's smoke on stages and stuff, my mouth and throat went completely dry in the first song, and it took me literally half the show to get past it. And so it was a real struggle to sing, because all of a sudden I'm like dealing with the set of dynamics that I don't know what's going on. It was like I was choking. Meanwhile, I'm trying to sing.
Yeah, you said it good.
Oh.
That was wrong. Yeah,
I faked it good.
That guitar where you're playing earlier.
That's a Yamaha. I think it's called the L series. That's what we're using live. It's really good, really nice.
Good.
Are you still remastering Machina 2? You're releasing it?
Well, that's part of the whole Machina reissue.
Oh, it's part of Machina reissue?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the whole thing that's been held up with the label.
With all the bullshit you still go through, why do you still do it?
I honestly don't think the bullshit is particularly much greater for me than it is for anybody else. I think everyone else just does a better job of pretending that they don't care. You know, Jeff sometimes, because he's fans of, like, you know, I don't know, metal bands or stuff, he'll go on their chat boards and stuff, and he'll say this stuff is just as vicious, just as dumb, just as petty, just as, why don't they play this old song? He said if you just take the band name out, they could be talking about us. Point being is, every fan base thinks they have the right to tell the band now what to do because they have some sort of pipeline to you on Twitter or, you know, Instagram or whatever. And I just think the smart people of the world do a real good job of, as we say in wrestling, baby facing it. I love my fans, everything's great. And then they just spew to their managers, you know?
Going back to the possible collaboration, who are some of the artists that you'd like to maybe collaborate with?
I don't know, I'd have to really think it through, you know? I mean, it's one thing to say, oh, I would love to play, like, I've been asked, like, what guitar player would you love to have on a record of yours? And I'm a huge fan of Richie Blackmore, who basically, these days, as much as I know, is mostly doing kind of classical / Renaissance music. He doesn't necessarily play rock like he used to. I mean, saying you want Richie Blackmore on your record is not the same as calling up Richie Blackmore and saying, is this something you'd like to do? And, you know, here's a funny situation, right? And I won't tell you the band because there's clickbait for you. There was a band that wanted me to get up on stage with them and do a song. And my manager said, would you be open to performing with this band? And I said, sure. What song would they like to do? And they sent me a list of 10 songs. I said, send me a list of songs they want to do, and I'll pick the one I want to do. Every song they sent me was between 1993 and 1995. And I looked at that list and I said, they're not fans, fuck off. Fuck off. They're not fans. I knew more of their recent material than they knew of mine. They're not fans. They want a, isn't it cool that we're playing on stage with the guy who's playing the song that we listened to in fucking high school? Fuck off. Now, if they give me a list of songs that a fan would give that included, you know, I like the Celestials and I like this song and I Still Like Today and Stand Inside Your Love or whatever, I may have still gone, you know what, with this band, Bullet with Butterfly would actually be the best song to do. They didn't let me choose based on their own sense of who I am. They have a sense of me that's this fucking wide, and what they want to do is they want to stand there with their arm around me. So when you ask about a collaboration, I don't want to do the same thing to my heroes. I don't want to call them up and be like, hey, can you be the guitar player you were in 1972 with that exact sound? Because that's really what I'm into. That's disrespectful. So when you talk about it, you have to get into a relationship, see where their head's at the time. And ultimately what you really want to do is you want to collaborate. You want where you are today and they are today to meet somewhere in the middle and something magical happens. If you go in there assuming they're going to play like this and I want this, then why not just do it your fucking self and do an imitation? And I do it all the time on records. I think sometimes should I call in somebody and I say, I don't want to make that call because I might offend them. And so I just do what I do what I would want them to do on the record, rather than offend them. Like they offended me.
Who's drumming on the new album?
There isn't a drummer.